Economics, an absolute advantage versus comparative advantage. Let's start this off with a definition of absolute advantage. So, absolute advantage is the ability of a country to produce a greater quantity of a good or service with the same quantity of inputs over its trading partners, or to produce the same quantity of goods or services using a lesser quantity of inputs. In other words, you can produce the same amount, identical goods or service, but you use perhaps less time. So you're much more efficient. So, first of all, in order to show you this, I'll give you a scenario of how we can actually use these two very important concepts together. So this is comparative advantage. Hopefully you've looked at my last video and you know what comparative advantage is. This is it. This is the definition here. Now, in order to show this as a scenario, we need to assume a certain number of things. In other words, we're going to illustrate this one, assuming there's only two countries in the world. Bear with me. I know this sounds unrealistic, but that's David Ricardo's. That's how we illustrate the comparative advantage. They produce the same commodities, which in this case is going to be cars and computers. They have the same number of workers, the equipment and land are identical, and the workers can interchange between the production of either computers or cars. Okay? So let's look at this scenario. This scenario is you have two countries, countries A and B. Both need to produce cars and computers. This is an economy that needs cars and computers. Okay, that's all they need, cars and computers. Now, country A can produce 5 cars in 100 hours of labor. Absolutely amazing. Country B takes 800 hours to produce 5 cars, identical cars, same number of laborers. That's so one can produce it in 100 hours, 5 cars in 100 hours, the other one can produce it in 800 hours. Now, in terms of computers, if they were to not to produce cars and just focus on producing computers, country A will take 300 hours to produce 5 computers, while country B takes 400 hours to produce 5 computers. So, yeah, they allocate all their resources to just produce computers. That's the result. Now, the question is who has the absolute advantage in cars and computers? Pause the video and let me know. So, hopefully, you would have worked it out that it has to be country A. Country A has the absolute advantage in both cars and computers. Okay, country A is far more efficient. Now, what happens? Does country A decide to discard country B and say, look, we're much better than you, we don't need you? Or can they trade together? Can something still happen? Even though they've got the absolute advantage, can they still trade together? And that's where we look at comparative advantage. So when we look at comparative advantage, country A takes 100 hours to produce 5 cars, but 300 hours to produce 5 computers. If they specialize in producing cars only, let's say they focus on producing cars only, they're going to have 400 hours. So 100 hours to produce 5 cars, 400 hours, they would end up producing 20 cars if they were to focus all this time on producing cars. Now, you can do the same thing for computers. Okay, so if for example 300 computers equals 300 hours, I should say, sorry, equals 5 computers. Each computer takes 60 hours to produce, and they have an additional 100 hours. They'll be able to produce 1.66. 1.66 plus 5 will be 6.66. It's very, very simple. You need to do the same thing for country B as well. And once you've done that, what you will discover is that country A should specialize in producing cars and country B should specialize in producing computers when you look at the opportunity cost. So let's have a look at the opportunity cost. If country A puts all their resources and just produces cars, they're going to produce 20. The opportunity cost, they'll be giving up 6.6 computers. Country B, if they specialize all their resources in producing computers, their opportunity cost will be giving up 7.5 cars. So, logic says even though country A has the absolute advantage, it may still be beneficial for country A. Well, it will be beneficial for country A to produce cars and country B to produce computers. They would, without any doubt, increase the overall output. So, what I want you to do, the next task I want you guys to do, and especially, well, my students are doing this task, and this will be to draw a PPF diagram reflecting the comparative advantage between both countries, showing both goods. The key point is what will be the suitable rate of exchange. If they decide to do that, one country A does computers, country B does country A does cars, country B does computers, then how many cars will be exchanged for how many computers? Okay. Now, PPF diagram, in case you're not familiar with it in terms of comparative advantage, will be something like this. Would be actually be like this. So you just simply have cars here and you have computers. So you start off with 20, and obviously you're going to go all the way down to first one. You're showing country A. You're going to go down to 6.6 and draw the line here, and do the same thing for country B. And what I want you to show me is what will be the suitable rate of exchange. What will be the exchange that will make both countries happy? Now, the last question I want to look at very, very quickly. How relevant is comparative advantage? Extremely relevant. You can imagine in a small trading block where you're just trading within your with your partners, you might have the absolute advantage, but you can still trade using comparative advantage, and it can still increase overall output. So hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. Please like and subscribe. Thank you, and I shall see you soon. Bye.